Well, hello everyone. I have to admit that I'm living with a lot of anxiety right now, grieving a bit. The election night, I didn't sleep a wink. And when I woke up, I think I felt like that guy who lost a really good friend to a mob one night, and next morning he just said, "I want to go fishing." That's the way we felt. He wanted to run away, and we wanted to run away too. And so, Rhoda and I, we piled our tandem bike into the car and went off to New York City, which is a really good thing to clear our minds and think about something else. We could park on Staten Island, walk our bike onto the ferry at no charge, and join the hundreds of other people. Some were workers who do that every day, who routinely come to work on the ferry, and others were tourists, excited to see the Statue of Liberty. Everyone all mixed together, representing language groups from all over the world, all part of what Lady Liberty represents as we pass her and Ellis Island behind her on our way to Manhattan. When we dock, we can walk our bike heading toward what is called Battery Park. We had to meander through some of this construction site on this temporary bike path until we could get to the start of what is called the Hudson River Greenway. It was good to be here, seeing people go about their normal lives peacefully. Most of the people were here were just going about their work as they do every day, but some of us were just out to have a good time. We would pass by the memorial for the Twin Towers, remembering that horrific day, September 11, 2001, when 19 people from Saudi Arabia hijacked 4 airplanes with all the passengers and used them as suicide bombers, destroying the Twin Towers. Almost 3,000 people would die that day, with more than 6,000 injured. Today, One Trade Center's building stands. It takes 47 seconds for the elevators to travel 100 stories into the air. I thought about the motivations of those suicide bombers, striking back at our country for attacking their people in Somalia under Clinton, the Iraq War, and the continued presence of our troops in Saudi Arabia under George H. Bush, Israeli oppression of Palestinians for more than 50 years, and the 1982 massacres in Lebanon under Reagan. Generations of hatred, creating the environment that caused so much suffering for everyone. And it made me wonder about our own era. What 12-year-old out there, seeing what he sees, will in time contemplate the unthinkable? Back on the bike, we continued northbound. It was such a beautiful day, almost 80 degrees. Everyone was out. The left side of the bike lane was like a continual park. Pickleball, tennis courts, basketball, soccer, even a skateboard park. Kids were out in the playground playing. It was all so beautiful. I almost forgot my sadness of last night. But my mind was in a whirl. Why do people vote the way they do? Actually, my wife never believed she would have a chance. People will never vote for a woman, she said. Men can say the most horrific things and people think it's masculine, strong, to be admired. If a woman talks like that, she is considered brazen. But I still believe she had a chance. He was such a vengeful person, lacking anything of empathy for anyone. Certainly people would vote for her, I believed. I wondered why some people vote for the person who votes against their own self-interest. I thought about people I know really well. A single woman, totally dependent on Social Security, who had trouble paying rent in time for decades, votes for him who threatens the existence of Social Security. A very poor couple who lived in a hotel because no management company would give them an apartment. The wife is on oxygen support with serious health concerns paid for by Medicaid. Votes for him who threatens the existence of subsidized health care. An immigrant, a refugee. The husband works for a company which tells their employees to get their own insurance through Obamacare because it saves them money. The wife had heart surgery paid for by Medicaid. They vote for him, the person who tried to get rid of Obamacare 50 times. A farmer forgetting that Trump tariffs against China resulted in U.S. losing huge markets to Brazil. In fact, Trump paid more than $28 billion to the farmers to compensate them for their losses. It's hard to imagine why a person would vote for a person that could financially hurt them so badly. And then there is the wealthy neighbor who votes in behalf of those who cannot vote. So we continued to bike up the west side of Manhattan toward Riverside Park. Here we got into some construction, so we backtracked a bit to around 100th Street to work our way over to Central Park. There were many 100-year-old townhouses which were a sight to behold. Getting to the park, we joined many other bikers. The New York City Marathon was just held this past Sunday, and people were still cleaning up all the structures that they had erected for the grand finish at that event here in the park. Everyone was enjoying the nice weather. We stopped at one of the small street restaurants along the route. Our waiter was from Belize. He was hoping to go to college soon. The owner of the restaurant was from Venezuela, and his wife was from Costa Rica, and they stopped by to talk. I reveled in the thought of what a beautiful experience this is. How is it that diversity among our country is not a strength and something to really appreciate? How could anyone call such people a poison? About that time, I got a text from my friend. He has lived in this country more than 10 years, and he returned to the refugee camps to marry his friend from school days who still lived in the camps. They have one daughter, and he's been working for several years, applying for permission to bring his family together on this side of the ocean. It's now looking like it's going to happen here in the next couple of months, as all the permissions have been granted. The text came to him from his people in the refugee camps that Trump will suspend all refugee resettlement. I quickly called him saying he should not worry because his wife has already been granted permission and that she should be here before Trump can block any application. But I was so sorry about this, especially because there are 3 other spouses who want to apply for their families to come to U.S. I assured him we love him and we do not support the new president in his hateful rhetoric. Riding south on 7th Avenue out of the park, we had this wonderful bike lane protected by parked cars. This is a really busy section of town, and it was fun being part of all that activity. As I was riding, I was thinking of past elections. I remember when Reagan was elected on the promise of large tax cuts. When I filed my taxes that year, I remember being surprised, thinking that it might have amounted to $100 for me, and I wondered what all the fuss was about. It's true, for 75% of us, life will be simply normal. No one will know the difference in a change of administrations. However, with Reagan, his administration contributed to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people in Latin America, as U.S. supported dictators against the peasants. For them, Reagan's reign was catastrophic. All those wars would eventually fail, but they did contribute to a culture that the only way one can change a leadership in those countries was through violent uprising. About this time, I got a call from my friend who is from Egypt. He expected Harris to win, so he wanted to vote for Jill Stein, as many of his Muslim brothers did, as a protest vote against Israeli ethnic cleansing of Gaza. And now he was sad about his choice. I told him his vote was important, and I wish I could have voted for Jill Stein as well, had I not believed that Trump was even worse than Biden, as his son-in-law was supporting Israeli annexation of North Gaza so that they could build expensive resorts on the Mediterranean coast. We are supporting so many wars right now. I wonder how many people really believe that Trump can settle these wars in 24 hours. Well, we trust he can, but we will have to wait and see. The 7th Avenue bike path came to an end around Times Square, so we worked our way eastward on side streets until we could find another protected southbound bike trail on 2nd Street. 2nd Street took us almost all the way down to the southern end of Manhattan, where we could connect to the bike trail called the East River Greenway. Most people see the Biden administration as being really good for our country. COVID's supply chain irregularities sparked inflation caused by excessive demand, but this past year has been one returning to normal with really a strong economy and all-time high stock market values. Trump added $8.18 trillion to the national debt, while Biden added $6.17 to the national debt during his 4 years. Trump's debt largely came from the huge tax cut for the wealthy, which are scheduled to expire this year. However, I'm sure he will renew it and continue that excessive debt. And that debt largely goes to personal wealth for the wealthy, providing more, say, expensive boats in the Miami harbor, whereas the Biden debt provided infrastructure developments, bringing back manufacturing in the Chip and Science Act, and giving some relief to students and people with medical debt. The difference is huge. Trump's love of tariffs, as he has promised, could well put a stranglehold on our whole economy if he is successful in pushing what he has promised. Finally, we got back to the Staten Island ferry, and surprisingly, we met old friends who, unknown to us, came to Bike Manhattan for the same reasons we came. It's just amazing that we would end up in the same ferry. There is nothing more healing than meeting friends who resonate and care for each other. We could not have been more surprised. As we sailed past Lady Liberty one more time, my phone rang again. I looked, and it was my friend who has no green card. Emotionally, I could not take the call. I will need to call him back later. Lord, have mercy on us. Thank you for watching.